Welcome to Angular Africa. My name is Valentine Awi and I am happy to have you here. So today I will share you something quite interesting and I hope you're going to like it. I'll be talking about how you can deploy your Angular application without your environment variables and at the same time subsequently change your environment variables without going through the process of having pull requests and all that, but then you get to run your application and then your environment variables get injected at the build time. So there are various reasons why you might want to do this. First, you might be working for a client who would tell you that, hey, you're not supposed to know my base URL, you're not supposed to know the configuration, the fee settings I'm going to be using, or whatever type of settings that, then your environment variables. And so they would want to be able to do that by themselves. So you find yourself trying to, tell your clients how to inject the environment variables and all that. So you might want to go through this process. You find yourself in that situation. Secondly, if you're not in charge of setting your environment variables, that means you just have to deploy your code and then the person responsible will have to just change the configuration files. It could be your base URL, like I said. So they won't have to make a pull request and all that to get configuration injected to the application. And also, in the case where you don't want to push your environment variables to your repository. That is the case for me. We have a policy that states that you are not allowed to push your environment variables to any repository, and that is the policy. Before I continue, I'd like to give a disclaimer that no account, if you're going to implement this, that doesn't make your uh, environment variable safe. So you should not put any secret you don't want people to see in your Angular environment variables or in any front end application environment variables. It is not safe. Okay, so secondly, this whole process is done on AWS. So this for an AWS environment, and it is a containerized application. That means that's why you can see some Docker files and your build spec files here. So it is containerized and it's on AWS. So if you're going to try this kind of a thing on a different environment, these principles work. And if you would want to talking about a specific environment, I wouldn't mind doing that as well. So like I stated, there are various reasons why you would want to, abstract your environment variables uh, from your deployment process. So let me show you what you have to do or what you need to do. So basically, these are the steps. First, you need to add the environment path to your .ignore file. So that means whenever you do a deployment, you're not pushing your environment files to your repository. Secondly, you need to create an S3 folder. Remember I said this on AWS. So you create an S3 folder where you add your environment variables. So I will show you a sample of what that looks like, and this is it. So this is a sample S3 folder. You can see this is a generic name, a generic folder, front-end environment variables, and then this is a project name. So you can have a lot of projects, ABC, ZYX, a lot of projects. Then you have the environment or the configuration files in each of the project. So if anything happens tomorrow, maybe your base URL changes or you want to add a specific fee settings, configurations, or anything to your um, configuration files, you can easily come, the DevOps engineer can easily come here, change the files, and then run the build process. And then you can see the files here, your environment.prod. You can add your .staging, whatever environment files that you have to push to the server. So that's just it. And then the next process is to add the copy command to your build spec file. And then once that is done, you can go ahead and run your deployment process. So let me just go ahead and show you the code that does that. So what I'm doing at every build time, I will try to install AWS CLI before I try to copy the uh, environment files from my S3 bucket to the Angular application. And remember that Angular requires that you provide your environment variable at build time. So that is why we are going through this procedure. You can't inject your environment variables at runtime. They are required at build time. So you need to make sure the environment variables are available to your application when you're building. So I was trying to do all these, install AWS, and this was taking too much time. AWS CLI, it was taking a lot of time. And then what now made me leave this old process was because it's required me to pass in my AWS credentials, so I had to stop. Right. So if I'm trying to prevent my secrets to be on the uh, repository, I shouldn't put my AWS secret, which is the greater evil, on a repository. So this is what we finally did. I added the permission to code build to be able to access S3 folder. So that was just the magic. And then we just run this command. So whenever you deploy your push application, whenever you run your deployment process, your build process, it's going to first of all go to the S3 bucket, copy the environment files, and push it to your source directory. And that is actually very fantastic. So the old process of installing AWS CLI was out of it. The whole process of trying to pass in your keys is out of it as well, because this your build process has the permission to access the bucket. So that's just it. It's quite simple, straightforward, and easy to do. So remember, create a folder on S3, ignore your environment variables, uh, give permission to your code build process, and then put in the copy command. This is quite straightforward, and I hope you know it will help you when you eventually find yourself in a situation where you have to abstract your environment variables. So if you think you've done something like this before, in a more optimized or in a better way, I would like to, you can drop that on the comment section so we can all learn. And if you have questions as well, you can also drop in the comment sections and I'll try to answer. And lastly, if you want me to talk about a specific environment, a deployment process to still do the same or principle, I will, just drop it on the comment section. I'll see what I can do about it. So thank you guys. Thanks for your time.